I've been thinking about like writing about this, of just the conundrum of being in a female body in your mid 30s and in a relationship that isn't working if you want kids, because it's a bind that I have heard, a lot of friends in, and some people make the decision that like, nope, the family is worth it and I'm going to stick with this partner and I'm going to have the family. And I do think that that can work out. And in my case, I was sort of like, well, I'm pretty sure I don't want to raise a family in this situation. And I think that it was sort of in the back of my mind, kind of in both of those breakups, which happened within like 2 years of each other. Like I might be doing this on my own. I might be looking at, a future where I'm doing a rogue mom situation. And that was terrifying to me.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently, and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 416. We're Finn and Emma, and today we're bringing Rachel Lark back on the podcast for some exciting updates. We last talked to Rachel on episode 307 in September 2023. As always, we encourage you to go back and listen to that episode, but it's not a requirement before listening to this one. She takes us today through the changes in her relationship and life over the past 2 years and shares with us her exciting news about becoming a mom.
Yeah, and not just any mom.
A rogue mom.
A rogue mom. And it is always such a delight to talk with Rachel, and today is no exception. This is a fantastic and really powerful conversation about Rachel's process and experience over the last year or so of becoming a mother. And we're so grateful and honored that she came back on the show today to share with us in such a vulnerable and again, I keep saying it, but a really powerful way. Rachel is also a writer, composer, and performer known for her incisive and catchy anthems about taboo topics. Yeah, we stole that line from her website, but Rachel talks more about her work and the exciting shift she's making during the interview. But please go check out her website for more information, and definitely check out the link in the show notes for her Patreon page where you can go and support her work directly. Yeah, work like Rachel's doesn't happen without the support of people like you supporting Patreon, because there's not just tons of money flowing around for independent creators like this. So again, one more plea from our side, go check it out and support Rachel's work.
For anyone who's a premium subscriber, we're going to jump right into the interview with Rachel now. And for everyone else, we're going to go through a couple of quick announcements. First up, if you're not familiar with the premium subscription, it's a way to skip these announcements up front, but don't worry, we still provide important dates of upcoming events in the outro. To sign up for the premium subscription, go over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, scroll down on the homepage, and you can sign up there for only $4 a month. Next up, we are very excited that our virtual speed friending events are back after a break. Our next one is going to be coming up November 21st. So mark your calendars, go over to our website, sign up, and join us. These are a great way to meet like-minded people from around the world in a low-pressure and fun environment. We've been running these events monthly for several years and are excited to be back from our extended summer hiatus. You can find more information and sign up by clicking on the banner at the top of our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, or in the podcast show notes.
Another way to meet amazing people from around the world is to join our virtual community. We lead a community of over 300 people from around the world who socialize and support one another every day. We host our community on a platform called Mighty Networks. We have monthly community support Zoom calls, monthly virtual workshops, and in-person events as well, all for less than $8 a month. A quick clarification, our virtual speed friendings and our community are not necessarily the same thing, although a lot of people from our community do join us for our virtual speed friendings. The speed friendings are open to anyone and everyone. Just have to be open-minded and awesome and respectful.
Yes.
back to the community. A couple of things about the community. Our next monthly workshop is called How to Choose a Pleasure-Based Life. That is coming up on November 13th. And we've recently announced our next in-person retreat. That is coming up on May 1st to the 3rd, 2026. Early bird tickets are currently on sale now for community members, and they're going to be on sale to the public starting November 1st. So
in just a few days.
In just a few days. So if you're interested in learning more about this, you can head over to our website, click on the community tab, and you'll find a link there for a PDF program guide, which tells you all about the event, what you can expect. It's going to be awesome. We went over the top.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, so go check it out, see what we're talking about, and you can jump into the community if you want to get an early bird ticket, or you can wait till November 1st and get your ticket when they go on sale to the public. To sign up again for our community, head over to the community tab. You'll find all the information there. And again, it's less than $8 a month.
Next up, we wanted to remind all of you about our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is stdcheck.com. This is a service that Finn and I have been using for years. You hear us talk about it every single week.
For years.
For years. It is a fast and efficient, discreet way to get tested for STIs. By using the links over on the resources tab of our website, you save $10, making a 10-panel test only $129, and you support the podcast in the meantime. So thank you in advance for using those links. And thank you to anyone who has used those links in the past.
And the last thing we want to do is remind you that we would love to have you come on the podcast to share your story. This podcast doesn't exist without people like you reaching out to us to tell your story. You don't have to be a singer, songwriter, composer like Rachel. You just have to be you. We would love to help tell your story. So you can find out more information of how to do that over on the Contact Us tab. You can also send us questions or feedback. We love to hear those as well.
And with that, let's go and talk with Rachel. Welcome back to the podcast, Rachel. We're excited to chat with you today. We talked with you about 2 years ago, and a lot of life has happened since then. We're excited.
A whole lot of life.
Yeah. We're excited for an update and to chat today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be back with you guys.
Yeah, we've actually gotten to hang out a few times in the last few months at some various events out here, and we're just excited to have you back on the show and catch up with you. We happen to know some secrets about you that we're going to talk about today, which is exciting. But
yeah,
maybe we start with
juicy secrets.
Yes, right. All the juicy gossip is dropped here today, but maybe we just start with like a quick, in a few minutes or so, give us the background on your relationship history and non-monogamy. Up until roughly now, or about maybe 2 years ago when we last chatted.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been practicing polyamory in my relationships now for close to 14, 15 years or something like that. There's definitely a sort of beginning phase where I sort of dabbled in it and, didn't quite know what I was doing and tried to save a relationship by opening it up that was already on its way out and that kind of stuff. But I really sort of chose the path of non-monogamy, polyamory, relationship anarchy, all of those terms I kind of relate to. About 12 or 13 years ago, I was with a partner for about 7 years, and we were open the whole time. And that was kind of the first very conscious and intentional relationship that I had, where I also had other partners and he had other partners. And pretty much since that relationship, I've been on a path where I feel like I'm open to other relationship structures, but generally I'm dating other people that are non-monogamous and that have some experience with it, and that's their value structure. So yeah, I've been sort of doing the solo poly thing, I guess, for the last 2-ish years since the last time we talked. And, kind of trying to build community and have adventures and go on dates, but not necessarily shopping for my life partner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been amazing. And and we can talk more about that. But that's right now I sort of view myself as open to finding a person I really want to enmesh and build a life with, but also probably not right now because I'm building kind of a pretty involved life as it is. And yeah, and so I do have a partner now who we don't think of each other as primary partners. He also has another partner. He kind of identifies as solo poly. She kind of identifies as solo poly. So there's a bit of a polycule forming, but everyone kind of lives alone and is sort of like a free agent. So that's kind of new structure for me. Yeah, that's kind of the status of the relationship ecosystem.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I love it. And one of the things you said in our last interview
Yes.
was you were very interested in, and maybe this plays into your current structure, that you were very interested in, I believe what you called them, radical family structures. I think
Yes.
was maybe the phrasing you used.
Uh-huh.
And a moment ago, you alluded to the fact that you are sort of in the midst of creating a very involved life.
Yeah.
And maybe, maybe we'd love to hear what that means to you today. Have any radical family structures evolved in your life since we last talked, Rachel?
A little bit. So I'm pregnant with twins, and yeah, I decided about a year ago to embark on a path to get pregnant with donor sperm. I I have decided to coin the term rogue mom to describe what I am doing.
Love it.
For various reasons,
Mhm.
I don't fully relate to the term single mother by choice. One, because I'm not single and I'm poly. And I also feel like there's something a little bit like I don't need to separate myself from single mothers by accident, or people that became single mothers that didn't plan on it. Like that feels like I don't feel the need to sort of like clarify my difference with them.
Yeah, this was a choice on your part.
Yeah, this was a choice to get pregnant without a co-parent, and that in and of itself is fairly radical, though definitely becoming more and more common of a structure for building a family. And yeah, and I did not plan on twins. I I tried one cycle of insemination, and then that didn't work, and I switched to IVF. And with IVF, you know that you're implanting one embryo. So I sometimes with IVF, people put in like more than one embryo if they're having fertility problems, or like back in the day, that was more common. So a lot of times people think twins and IVF, and it's from putting in multiple embryos. I put in one, and that one decided to split. So identical twins on their way. And I'm due in October. It's as of the time of this recording, it's the end of July. So we're getting pretty real. It's like not abstract anymore. The
Yeah.
abstract phase is over. We are getting very real. So
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it is very real that there are babies growing inside of you.
babies are growing and kicking
Yeah.
and moving and and like practical things are happening. A nursery is being organized. Like it's the babies are nigh. This is real.
Yeah. And I'm sure they're keeping you nice and cool this summer as we weather through this sweltering summer.
Yeah, it's so, man, I feel like the most, I'm sure we want to like talk mostly about the relational stuff and the radical family structure of it all. But like, honestly, just the sort of like drain on my body has been kind of the biggest sort of shock in this whole thing. And the amount of compassion that I have gained for anyone that is ever physically uncomfortable for any extended period of time is huge. And I hope I can retain that
Yeah.
gift
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah.
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 So
Well, I will say we're here to talk about all of it. So it does
Mhm.
we don't just
Yes.
have to focus on
Yes.
on one piece of it, because this is huge. This is what's going on in your life right now. And I'm curious, like, a little bit about the process for you of coming
Mhm.
to this decision. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, it was a long process. I mean, I'm one of those people who has always wanted to be a parent. I just absolutely always wanted that. I knew I wanted that. I mean, I certainly had sort of ideological conversations with with myself about like, should I? But I was never questioning the desire to do
Hmm.
it. So my last two sort of major long-term relationships, kids were very much talked about and on the table. And one of the things that made ending those relationships so scary was like this fear that I might lose the opportunity to have a family. And that was sort of like I've been thinking about like writing about this of just the conundrum of being in a female body in your mid 30s and in a relationship that isn't working if you want kids. Because it's a bind that I have heard, a lot of friends in, and some people make the decision that like, nope, the family is worth it and I'm going to stick with this partner and I'm going to have the family. And I do think that that can work out. And in my case, I was sort of like, well, I'm pretty sure I don't want to raise a family in this situation. And I think that it was sort of in the back of my mind, kind of in both of those breakups, which happened within like 2 years of each other. Like I might be doing this on my own. I might be looking at, a future where I'm doing a rogue mom situation. And that was terrifying to me. So scary to me, especially being like a working artist and not having the kind of like income security that I thought I needed to have in order to, be responsible and bringing a life into this world. And at the same time, I think I just had this knowledge of like, but I could do it. Like, I think that I know that I could do it. And so after I moved to New York about 2 years ago, like soon around the time that we recorded the last podcast, really with the goal of sort of making major moves in breaking into writing for theater, writing for TV. And I basically sort of told myself then, I was like, okay, right now is only about your career. Just like the best way that you can like set things up for a future family or a future relationship is to just like really focus on your career and art stuff right now. And like that needs all of you. So give everything you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we'll see where we're at in a couple years.
Yeah.
And
You were
yeah,
in that process when we talked to you.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
So
I was just gonna say, what a scary, and like not even necessarily scary, just what a big sort of weight to carry. To be like,
Yeah.
okay, if it, right, sort of looking at okay, these two relationships aren't really working.
yeah,
I'm gonna pour everything into like what we know, right? Or what we get told is okay, focus on your work, build the security, do that, and then maybe you'll unlock the ability to, have a family. Like it seems like so much was riding on this.
yeah. And looking back, I think it's not. I mean, it didn't work out that way. Like what
Right.
ended up happening was I did pour everything I had into my career and sort of still am slash was until I got pregnant, and now it's a
Hmm.
little different. And actually, the entertainment industry right now is in total turmoil. Like it's, what I realized was like, this is not within my control. Like when I get some kind of break, whether I get it, how well I'm compensated, I can't control these things just by putting out good work and trying my best. And so I'm going to keep doing that, but I can't like put this timeline that unfortunately does have this biological limitation. I can't like hold that hostage waiting for something that is going to be given to me by people with power,
Yeah.
essentially from luck. Like if I'm, that combination of like hard work and luck, and I can do the hard work piece, but I can't make the opportunities appear,
Yeah.
especially when they're literally disappearing everywhere. And like A-listers aren't even getting their projects made. So
Yeah.
so then I think it was around January. Yeah, it was January 2024. I went in to have a consultation about having my eggs frozen, which I'd had like a lot of friends had done that. And I was like, okay, I'm 35. Yeah, that's right. I was 35 then. I was like, okay, let me, because nothing was like really happening career wise. And I was like, why don't I it's a free consultation. I'll just like see what they say. And that consultation ended up really rattling me because in my head, and also I want to preface this with like, I'm going to say a lot of stuff about like my reasoning and like thoughts that I had around fertility. It's a really loaded issue. And like, it's a really hard thing to hear about when you're like in the midst of it. And I don't know, I just want to say that like, if anyone's listening who's sort of like,
in the midst of it.
in the midst of it, just like, this is just my thought process. And there are, literally an infinite number of other thought processes that have led to great outcomes. So don't like think that like my perspective is now, like what you should listen to or that I'm saying this is how other people should think about it. But I was rattled because in my mind, freezing your eggs was this sort of like security that you could be like, okay, well, at least I've got the eggs, so I know that I could get pregnant in the future. Well, the odds were not what I expected. When I got this, like, when I went to do this consultation, they, basically like they looked at a lot of things, LH levels, these hormone levels in your blood that they use to figure out your egg reserves. They looked at the actual like follicles on my ovaries. And they were like, all right, based on like your age, these hormone levels, all this other stuff, we are like 60% sure that you would get a successful live birth from this process.
Wow.
And I was like, 60? That's not great. Like, I mean, it's more likely than not. But also, I was like, is that enough for me to sort of
bank on that?
Go on with my life? Yeah. And sort of like, no, and again, I think it's different if you are sort of like, I'm not sure about being a parent, but if it's something that that you absolutely like want to do for sure, I was really sitting with that number, like 60. And then I was like, and then what does that mean? I still don't know. So now I know like it's going to be really expensive when I do have a baby because I'll have to do IVF. I like, when would I do that? I'm still trying to find a partner to do that with. So I was like, what relaxes now if I do that? Like what calms down? And I
Not
just
much.
sort of not much.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like not and I'm paying, a 20K or something for this procedure. And I'm like, couldn't I just get pregnant now and spend 20K, on it? So I talked to my parents. I had like a long phone call with them where I was just sort of like, I just don't know. And they were really close and they're very supportive. And they basically were like, look, if you know you want to do it, you should probably just do it and we'll support you. And then I was just like, damn, I think I just got to do it. So that was really the turning point, is that consultation. And that's when I was like, okay, so this isn't going to happen the way I thought, where I get like famous and like have enough money to never worry about anything. And then I have a kid. Instead, I'm going to have a kid because I want to have a kid and I'm going to keep working. And that's basically, I think, actually how it goes for most people, you know? And, I started thinking about all the things that are non-monetary, like these huge assets that I have in my life right now. Like I have parents that at the time were about to retire who, live a couple hours away, 3 hours away. I like to call it a couple hours, really with traffic. It's not
variable. It's variable.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're still physically able. And, that might not be true in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, and then I have all these friends that currently don't have kids who are down to help out. Yeah, that also might not be true in in 5 years. I live in a rent stabilized apartment in New York. And New York, by the way, I had no idea when I moved here, but there's really no better city in America to be a low income parent. It's there's free childcare if you're on Medicaid. So I just started to think about it. I'm like, okay, actually I don't I don't necessarily have this specific like picture of security, but actually I do have a lot, a lot, you know. So I basically decided then to start, figuring out how to do it. And so there's a big phase of the how and the what method and the sperm, and we could talk about all of that. And pretty much from that point I was like, okay, I want to do this. It was funny actually. Initially I told my mom, I was like, okay, I think I want to do this in a year. And she was she was very well, it's going to take a while, you might. And she was so right, because I didn't even do my first, that was January, and I didn't do my first attempt until August. So I was like, yeah, why would I have been I'm going to put this off?
Yeah.
So yeah. And then this February I did my first embryo transfer with IVF, and it was successful. So now here I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
It's just,
congratulations.
yeah.
And thank you for sharing the process of that, because I think, as you said, so I think it's relatable to so many, especially women in their 30s trying to make this decision with the biological time clock as well.
Yeah. Mhm.
And that's just really challenging place to be. And like you said, you want to have you wish you could have everything quote unquote perfectly aligned and
Yeah.
secure and all of these things. And how realistic is that? And you really having to dissect that of what's the process here and what's actually realistic, rather than just continuing to put it off because of I will make it big, right? And
Right.
hopefully you do. And that's not necessarily what to bank on.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I mean, I think it's important to just create the life that you want now,
Mhm.
you know, in every sense. And you're not going to have all the things that you want, but the things that are in your control, to be this is important to me, this matters.
Yeah.
You should just put, make that happen in your life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I feel like the way you said it a minute ago was really poignant, that holding this dream hostage
Yeah.
by, right, like you said, in large part by the luck, by the whim of some with someone with money and power, a producer,
Yeah.
whatever, who calls you up and says, "Hey, here's your break," and you're like, "Oh, thank God, you finally unlocked the next step of my building a family," right? Like that, like you said, holding that whole thing hostage versus saying, "Okay, but how can I make my dream come true with what I have?" And then really taking stock of what you have. And sounds like you talked earlier about community. Like it sounds like your family, your friends, all of the system you built around you feels like the safety net, feels like the care that you found that unlocked this for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's cool because it's a value of mine to be interconnected in these more creative ways. And I feel like there's no way that's not going to happen with my family structure. I
Yeah.
think that I've seen this with some friends, and it's not their fault. I think the systems that we live in really push people into this, where, particularly if they're a straight couple and they have kids, no matter how radical their lifestyle was beforehand, but they end up in this sort of siloed nuclear family, heteronormative roles dynamic, and cut off in all these different ways. It's going to be, I'm going to have other challenges, but but that won't happen to me. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm curious what you're like thinking about that. Like what, again, lots can change and I'm sure it will change and the vision will change. But right now, as you're sitting here looking ahead to October and giving birth, what do you see sort of we'll call it your family structure? What do you see that looking like?
So a big thing, I've got my sort of key, who I've been calling my support team. And that's my best friend, Jessamine, who lives in New York. My friend, also best friend. Best friend is a tier for me.
Yep.
It's not a
Yep.
title.
It's a whole category. It's a category. Yeah.
So my friend Anna lives in Baltimore, and then my parents, they live in Western Mass, and my brother who lives in California. We've been having, oh yeah, and then another best friend, Zoe, who lives in California. We've all been having monthly Zooms of sort of just sharing making sure that like there's other brains that are holding everything. And Jessamine has been the main person that's coming to doctor's appointments with me. She can't come to all of them, but especially earlier on when you're sort of like anxious about the sonograms and stuff, like that was, she was really good about like able to be there for all of those. And then, basically from that sort of support group, like my big goal for once the babies arrive is like for the first 3 months, I don't want to be staying alone. So like someone staying with me that entire time. So, we've kind of calendared this out. Anna's going to be taking a month off work to actually like stay with me for a whole month, which is incredible. My parents are luckily retired now. So they're going to kind of be around. We don't have to like schedule their time as concretely. And then I have other friends and like Zoe and Paul from the West Coast are going to be flying out for like 2-week chunks. So that's a big part of it is like just sort of piecing together like the people that are going to physically be here. In addition to that, it's like I've built, I mean, so much. Like, so the piece I'm thinking about now is like I started this group that meets in person. That's like solo and queer moms. We've been meeting for like a year, and that's kind of I view that as like we've all sort of planted the seeds, and we don't fully know what that's all going to turn into because we were all like trying to get pregnant a year ago when we like first met, and now there's one baby amongst us, and like 3, 4 pregnant people. So, I think we're all like excited to sort of see what that can turn into.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I have my partner who like we check in, and also we're both like we have no idea what this is going to look like, and we've created some boundaries there. Like he is not on those support team Zooms. He's not sort of being considered the like key, like, showing up for the baby's like person. But we've also talked about the kinds of support that he's like excited to do, which would include like, staying over and helping, with baby care whenever he stays over. And then also just this like invitation of like, if I'm in a jam and like, if I don't have someone, then to please like call on him. So that's an interesting sort of making it up as we go along. And neither of us have been a parent before. So we also don't like fully, I mean, mostly there, we're both just like, okay, you excited to figure this out? Me too. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, just think on that piece, like what an adventure for two people to go on together, right? And to do it in a way, like you said, you're making it up as you go. There's not necessarily a blueprint for this. We don't have a map. Let's just keep talking, like talk about communication on expert level.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And a big thing for me in my relationships, all of them, not just like romantic, has been, as I've been getting more physically vulnerable and, just sort of it just my needs have grown, clarifying with all my people of like, you guys, I need you all to hold your boundaries so that I can just ask.
Yeah.
So like just moving into a phase where I'm just going to ask and I'm not going to like hold back from asking and just trust me that I can hear a no and that I have other support, if you need to give me a no, but like I'm not going to be internalizing like I've asked this person for too much stuff.
Right.
Like I need the permission to just ask.
Yeah. You don't have a spreadsheet of like, I've asked this person 3 times. This person's done 4 diaper changes. All right, you're on the diaper change rotation this week. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Too much. Can't do that.
Yeah. Here's my Trello board for
Yeah. And I should also say my parents are giving me a lot of financial support as well. So for instance, like I'm hiring a night nurse for the first few weeks. And like I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have my parents being down to cover that. And that's like huge. Everybody that I've told about this, because I didn't even know night nurses were a thing until I'm in all of these like parent like group chats and stuff of like various affinity groups. There's like the solo mom group chat, and then there's like the queer group chat, and then the big one that's been the most helpful is the twin and like parents of multiples. And like that's where I heard about the value of having, essentially a newborn expert, specifically a twin newborn expert there helping you with those first few weeks. Because basically with twins, like if you don't get them on a schedule, you die.
Yeah.
It's like what I've survived.
Yeah. Yep.
So
that feels fair. I'm not a parent and I'm not a parent of twins, but that feels accurate.
So the person I've hired was highly recommended in this twin group, and she's worked with 57 pairs of twins.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's like, she's just very authoritative. Any question I ask her, like she's just got an answer, and that feels really good.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that is a big piece of, I think, what's making this feel doable.
Yeah. Well, and to have that support too, so that you can actually get some sleep like that.
That was her whole thing. So I was thinking of like having them in my bedroom with me, and I ran this plan by her, and she was like, no. She's like, I'm going to be there, at night. You need to sleep. Like your job is to sleep as much as possible. Like I will bring you the babies. That will not happen if they're in your room. Like there's just, she was just like very clear about it. And there's just so many things like that with twins. I feel like it really sort of like, I feel like having twins, there's so many different opinions in general about like pregnancy and like newborns. And, you can just like, there's all these different like schools of thought about how to do stuff. And with twins, it just kind of starts to get really simple in a way. Because you're like, okay, you're trying to grow humans as big as they can while they're in you, and you grow them, and then they're out, and then you just have to get the milk in the bodies, and then like you have to sleep so that you can make the milk to get into their bodies, and then you change their diapers. That's really all you're going to have time for, and that's really like all that matters here, and everything else can just sort of like go away. And in a way, it's like clarifying. I mean, I'm sure it's going to feel really insane and confusing, but there's just a lot of stuff that I'm just kind of like, parenting advice stuff that I hear that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. Like that's not, I'm not going to.
Not even possible. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, as Emma said, like, thank you for sharing all of this with us. And something kind of just like dawns on me as you're talking, and this is not in any way to like shit on any way anybody is doing this. But,
Yeah.
when you talk about this and you're like, and I have these friends and they're helping out in this way, and this partner's helping out like this, and my family is helping out like this, and I have a support person over here. I mean, this is so much of what we hear in non-monogamy, right? Like when we
Mm-hmm.
have multiple partners, you're not saying, okay, husband,
Yeah.
wife, spouse, anchor partner, whatever we're calling primary partner, you now are responsible for making sure like our apartment, our house is clean, that we have great sex, that we're doing all sorts of fun stuff together, that we're working.
Totally.
You put it all on one person. And I just think about, right, that you could say, well, wow, to think that you're jumping off on this without, a husband or a
Mm-hmm.
a permanent, we'll call it a permanent father figure, but just to even that phrasing, right? There's so many
Yeah.
people like, grew up without a dad or a mom in their life, right? And so that I just look at all of the stuff that people say, and then I look at this and I'm like, well, this feels like you're diversifying and you're saying, well, hey,
Yeah.
there is no guarantee, right? I could have a father of this child that is in my life, but there's no guarantee that person is going to be here either. And
100%.
and
Yeah.
so
I mean,
yeah,
I think that, and I hear this a lot from like birth workers and doulas and people who have worked with like rogue moms, single mothers by choice, whatever, is that, it's actually, they end up doing all this planning that actually everybody who's having a kid should do. And, there's so much that just gets assumed of like, well, me and my primary partner will just figure it out. Because that's sort of what you see on TV, right? Or like these movies of these two confused people just like helping each other through it. And yeah, I mean, I think that polyamory has trained me to, yes, diversify, be intentional, have like conversations, but also embrace the fact that none of us really know what's going to happen. And, not to get like too morbid about it, but the leading cause of death for pregnant women is murder. And yet I have read, and I like kind of can't believe this, but I've read like maybe 8, 9 books on pregnancy. I haven't read a single chapter about domestic violence
wow,
or even seen it mentioned.
Mm.
And it just speaks to how strong the moralism of being in a relationship, particularly being in like a married straight relationship, is. And the sort of assumption that if you're the type of mother to be reading a parenting book, well, you must have a perfect relationship. And you think about like the shame that it must take to admit that something's wrong, and how scared, women might feel to stay in a relationship that's not working. Really what that means is that like our lack of imagination around what a family can look like is literally killing us.
Mhm.
So like, I am proud to be, going on this path. And I also like, I'm like, I've eliminated the biggest risk factor. Like I don't have a guy who hates me around. Great, So yeah, I think that I feel, particularly like well trained in thinking creatively about these relationships thanks to polyamory. And also, I just think that like all relationship structures could use more interdependence, intergenerational, help living, all that stuff. And I just like, I want to see a future where families are less like hidden and siloed and forced to deal with stuff on their own.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's such I love that you bring that parallel in of polyamory and like the isolation that it can be to have a
Mhm.
child and to be able to bring that focus out and be like, how can I create structures and systems so that that does not happen.
Yeah.
And like you said, so many people don't think about that because we're not shown to think about that.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Well, we'll just the two parents will do it together, right? And
Right.
then we don't. It's us against the world, and we've got this, and it can, yeah. And not to say that you can't, but you don't have to.
No. Yeah. And like I just think there's a great book that I read recently called Motherdom. Something about ending bad science and good mothering myths or something like that.
We'll
But
find it and put it in the show notes.
We will. It was so good. I think Alex Bolin, was the author. And it really points to like, and I mean, this is another parallel to polyamory, but she really points out how like so much of the parenting advice, like the science and these headlines about like how to increase your baby's IQ and like, why breastfeeding is like so important that, you should just go like hang yourself if you weren't able to breastfeed your baby or, I mean, it's really like the advice that you get is so loaded and it's so heavy. Like you, this parent, usually the mother, are completely responsible for what kind of person, this baby turns into. And really, like, this is a societal job. Like, raising the next generation is societally important. And what really helps outcomes for kids is like having a safe environment to live in and learn in, having enough food, having, access to good education. These are not necessarily things that an individual person can provide. This is stuff that like the whole society needs to be providing. And so, she looks at how like this focus on like what you can do as a parent is a way of absolving these like bigger, the government essentially from like doing the work that's necessary. And I think about this with polyamory too, where like I'm a big proponent. I'm a big fan of non-monogamy. It's my chosen relationship structure. It's given me enormous benefit, but I also sort of like cringe a little bit when I hear sort of advocates for polyamory talk about how it could make the world better, because I'm like, well, no, what could make the world better is housing security and universal health care so that like, people don't feel like they need to get married to get their basic needs met. Like that would have a much more profound impact on our autonomy to love who we want than just convincing each individual person to like, open up their relationship. Like the way you have freedom in a society is you have like people's basic needs covered. So
yeah,
that's my little political rant
yeah.
on that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you going on that little rant too,
Yeah.
because it's important.
It's so important. And
Mhm.
and I would love, I don't know. I'm excited. Well, we're already going to say part 3 is coming. We already know that's coming. So
Let's see what happens when there are actual people here that I contend with. Yeah, totally.
All right, fine. But I would love, I'm just curious, as you're going down this path, the last, few months, year that you've been doing this, how has it been in terms of like dating and, managing your relationships and what has that landscape looked like for you?
Yeah, I mean, fewer pings on fields for sure.
Yeah. all this cis guys out there like, yeah, welcome to the club.
Totally. Yeah, so I definitely the first trimester, the fatigue hit me like a ton of bricks. Dating or meeting new people sounded utterly unappealing. I was just like, no. I did go to a couple play parties with my partner. That was fun. That was kind of like before I was really showing, but it still felt like, look at me, I'm pregnant at a play party. How cool. Yeah, and then I basically just sort of felt like, well, um, yeah, I don't know. Meeting new people with like dating apps sounds hard, whatever. I don't know if I want to deal with that. And then I just sort of got like antsy and bored and got some energy back. So I was like, fuck it. Like, I'll just like, and I think also, you just get those hits of like approval from dating apps and stuff sometimes. And just even that, you just sort of remind yourself, like, I'm a person that people might want to meet. That's nice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It reminds you that you actually have a life too outside of this adventure you're on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, like basically I'm very infrequently on the apps and, kind of making plans to meet up with people, really just sort of like for kind of fun. Oh, what am I talking about? There's also like there's also these other groups of like poly parents that I've sort of like hooked up with, but I don't even consider that like in my dating landscape for some reason. Cause I'm just like, well, they're just rad. I don't know, like that they're around and they're rad. So, but I think because they have kids, I mean, it's a nice thing. Actually, I just to put a plug in for dating people with kids in case like there's any sort of childless people out there who maybe were scared off. Like, if you want like a sort of purely casual, infrequent, semi-transactional like relationship, date someone with kids because like they they just like don't mess around with their free time and don't have a lot of it, and it's kind of nice, like if you are sort of like I just want to go on some cute dates and not looking for a partner right now or whatever, like people with kids generally in my experience, it's going to take a lot for them to like really want to like enmesh, they're busy, they're very busy,
Yep.
and also very understanding and compassionate people because they have had to be parents. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I guess does that answer the question? It's not a big part of my life right now. It's something I'm sort of like aware of is like, oh yeah, I'm always gonna be someone who like wants to like meet new people, wants to connect. Sexual adventure is very important to me, but also I'm pretty protective right now and I'm pretty like physically tired and
Mhm.
don't feel like putting on makeup, you know? And so and I'm cool with that. And I'm very curious to see if and when that changes. Like I think it's very possible that's going to be me for the next 4 years,
Yeah.
And then I also wouldn't be surprised if like after the kids are 6 months old, I'm just like I'm getting a sitter every Friday and I'm out, I don't know. I could kind of see it going either way. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
See how your energy is and where you're
yeah.
at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. I also love too your plug for the parent, like polyamorous parents,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
just not even polyamorous, but the like, yeah, like, hey, like I'm here for like a great dinner, maybe some cuddles, maybe some hook up afterwards, but then we're going back to our corners and maybe we do it again in a few weeks. But like
Right.
and and if you have to cancel that, like everybody's a little more understanding. Everyone's like, hey,
Yeah.
we're just making it up as we go, stitching life together. So let's see what we can make happen and have a good time. Right.
Totally. Sorry. My dog just shook. I don't know if you can hear that. My other, yes. Ripley's still in the mix. She's enjoying being the main character for now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She has a rude awakening coming.
Yes, for sure. I know.
Yeah. I'd also love for you to share more about your work and what's going on there.
Sure. So most of my career, I was known as a singer-songwriter. I think that's kind of like my unique little niche in the world. I write songs about sexuality, feminism, politics, polyamory, kink, and also just like I don't know, my heart and feelings and those things. But I've been sort of pivoting into more dramatic writing and essay writing. I wrote a musical a few years ago called Coming Soon that did really well in San Francisco. And so part of me coming to New York is like trying to get a production of Coming Soon off the ground. I'm actually almost done with a feature film adaptation of Coming Soon.
Wow.
So that's going to be a big thing that I'm pushing out into the world over the next like few months during my maternity leave. And yeah, so I perform a lot, but more and more I'm writing. So I have a Substack. I've been writing, just recently sort of announced my pregnancy to my Substack, and I've been like writing about the same stuff that we've been talking about, my like rogue mom adventures and thoughts and what pregnancy has been like, being like a polyamorous queer artist and doing this thing. And I've also written a couple TV pilots. I have a polycule family comedy called Nuclear Family that my agents have been shopping around that I'm very excited about. And I have another one that's about pro doms in Oakland called Mercy. And yeah, like basically I'm just generally trying to write and share ideas and collaborate in the world. And I work across a lot of mediums, but more and more are sort of writing from my computer and hoping to break into like TV and film soon.
Love it. Well, anybody out there listening who's looking, you found Rachel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and website, all the ways to get in touch will be in the show notes. So definitely get in touch. And I don't know if you're open to a couple more questions.
Sure.
I have a few more. So just curious, like as you're looking ahead to this, what is something that just one of the things you're most excited about? Doesn't have to be the most, but just as you're going into this, like what are you really excited about?
Oh man. I mean, just meeting them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know who these people are, and I am so excited to meet them. Yeah. I think the twin thing is pretty cool. Like everything I've been reading about twin relationships, it seems like almost all twins stay close their whole life. Which, siblings, it can go either way, but I love the idea that they're already bonding together right now and like already it's almost like this is another sort of like non-monogamy skill, but the like compersion involved in knowing that they have their own thing
Mm-hmm.
going on that like I will never totally understand and just get to like witness. I think that's really neat.
That's interesting. I've never even really thought of that. That even as their mother, they're gonna have this bond that you will
Yeah.
never really get to understand. I've just never
Fully,
thought
yeah.
of that. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. And I suppose that's true of all siblings and like all family relationships, but it feels like particularly true with the twin dynamic that I've heard about, talking to lots of like adult twins in my life and reading about
Well, they're
twin stuff.
in utero together,
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
different experience.
The only person who will know them longer than you is each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wild.
Totally. Yeah. There was like this one ultrasound that was, I think it was at 13 weeks. And that was kind of the last time that they were small enough that you could see them both on the screen at the same time. So now they have to kind of do like one twin and then the other one. But that one, it was kind of the little like perfect happy medium where they fully looked like babies, but they were small enough to be on the screen. And they were just like punching each other through the amniotic sacs, like full blown, like sock and bop it, like, and I was like, and I wasn't feeling them at that point, so it was sort of a shock to me that they were like moving that much. And I like asked the sonogram tech, like, can they feel each other's heartbeat? And she was like, I don't know, but they can feel the punching. Like that's very clear. And I was like, cool. And then later I was like, are they interacting or are they like already fighting? And then I decided like, okay, they're working out sharing space early and they'll come out and they'll have already sort of navigated that and they won't be competitive and they'll love each other. And that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Raising two perfect angels. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I believe it. Manifest.
Yeah.
You just manifested it.
Yeah. How did it feel that day you got the news that there were two?
Oh my God. I was fully in shock. So it was 6 weeks. It was the 6-week ultrasound. So I found out 2 weeks before that I did a blood test and knew I was pregnant. So that was a celebration moment. And then, my friend Jessamine came in and this was at the fertility clinic. So I hadn't yet found an OB or anything. And so, we went in together for the first ultrasound where they look to see if there's a heartbeat. And that's kind of the first stage of like, is this actually a viable pregnant? Like, are you really pregnant? so I was nervous and we go in and the ultrasound tech, puts the ultrasound in and then she just goes, "Oh, I think you're having twins." And Jessamine screamed, like just was like, like just screamed like that. And then the ultrasound tech is like, "Hang on, let me get the doctor," and like leaves the room. And I was just like I actually have a picture of this moment. I was just like, just jaw dropped, like I look happy in the picture, but definitely like in shock. And then the doctor came in and he was like, "Well, we get 1 to 3 of these a year and you're my first of 2025." So, and I miss my fertility doctor. He had such a great bedside manner, but he was really good at like right out the gate. He was like, "Okay, so here we see, 2 amniotic sacs. That's what we want to see." And, sort of got into like reassuring me mode. But then right away he was like, "So you need to be with a high risk OB and you should try to get an appointment as soon as possible." And I think that's when I started to sort of be like, "Oh, like this is now a high risk pregnancy. Like now there's all this new stuff I need to understand." And also up until that moment, I had no pregnancy symptoms. I was actually annoyed about it. It's like complaining to my boyfriend, like, I'm like, "I don't feel pregnant at all. Like nothing feels different." And that day, I like, as he's talking, I was like, "I'm really dizzy. I'm really," and I was like, "Is this shock or am I starting to feel pregnant?" And then the next morning I like threw up immediately and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm pregnant." Like I just started feeling pregnant the second that I found out I was having twins. And then I'd say like the hardest day. Okay, that's a very bold statement. It was a hard day. It was one of the hardest days. It was probably the hardest day. Was the next day when I was trying to make an appointment with a high risk OB and I was just on hold and getting transferred and just in that whole like medical like hell.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're on like Medicaid, because I had a practice before of like this midwife practice that I was excited about, but they were like, "Oh, we don't do multiples. You need to go to like a hospital that has a maternal fetal medicine doctor." And I was on hold, dealing with this, like trying to make an appointment for over 3 hours. And I remember just feeling like, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this." Like that was probably like the biggest day where I was just like, "This feels too big. This feels impossible. Like I can't even make an appointment. Like how am I going to like get through this pregnancy safely and like raise these 2 kids?" I think it's like a kind of a structure of an anxiety thought that like every expecting parent has of like, "Wait, I can't even do this thing. How am I supposed to be able to do
Yeah. And
the
it's not,
hardest thing?" Well, and I will say too, it's so you are, you can have a reduction when you find out you're pregnant with twins. And I don't think that there should be like shame in bringing that up.
yeah.
I did think there was a really funny moment. A dear friend of mine who is like a lawyer and a badass like reproductive justice like warrior did say the most hilariously rude thing when I told her I was having twins because she knew I was pregnant. And then I saw her like a few weeks later and she was like on her way leaving somewhere and it was really quick. And I was like, wait, I have to tell you some news. I'm having twins. And she goes, "You know, you don't have to keep both of them, right?" That was her response. And I was just like, "What the fuck?" And she was like, "Was that bad?" And I was like, "Yeah." and later she told me she like went to like trivia and she like asked her trivia team. She's like, "Was this like a weird thing to say?" And they were all like, "Absolutely." And but I mean, I wasn't offended and I thought it was funny and it was such an expression of her like
Her work and her like, her
yeah.
care and like you have, I think more like, and I love that you bring this up because you have choice.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. And for me, the finding out that I was having twins was, it was unexpected, but it was ultimately, it is an outcome that I wanted. I've always wanted more than one kid. This isn't how I thought it would happen, but like I grew up with siblings. I just always pictured having at least 2 kids. So like for me, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna. This might be my only chance to have 2 kids. Like I'm down for this adventure, but it's very valid if a person is not and is like, yeah, I'm only prepared to have one child. Like, I've read so many like Reddit threads and stuff about people, especially if they've already got several children and then they find out they're having multiples. Like, and it's a very common conversation for triplets. Like if you find out that you're having triplets, depending on what state you're in, the doctor will talk about, they call it a pregnancy reduction. It's aborting one of the fetuses and not the other. And that is something that people can do. And I support, the freedom to do that if you so choose. But in my case, I was like, no, this is magical and certainly daunting, but like I want this,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Even in those dark days where like I don't know if I can do it, it's worth it.
yeah, I think so. And ultimately, I'm sure, yeah, even in that dark day, I kind of knew this is a dark day. Like that's what this is. And also was again like ready to put the blame on like society and not myself. Like it shouldn't take 3 hours to make an appointment with a high risk OB when you find out you're pregnant with twins.
No.
That, should be in the richest country in the world, a relatively straightforward thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were sharing that the old trope or the old saying of the thief of joy is comparison, or comparison is the thief of joy. And I'm like, the thief of joy is the American medical system.
Yeah.
In so many ways. Like, Jesus.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Wow. And I would say nothing, a friend of mine said this, of like, nothing will make you a sharper critic of capitalism than having a baby. And I feel the same about the medical system. And I also feel the same about abortion. Like what my body is going through right now is so hard and is such a massive, life-changing, life-altering thing to happen to a body. I can't compare it to anything else I've ever been through, like injuries or whatever. Like this is its own thing. The idea that someone could be forced to go through this with their body and they don't want to is a full-blown horror show. Like, and I think I never had any doubts about that. And now I just feel it on like a way more visceral level.
Yeah. 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 I really appreciate you sharing that too.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for, everything you've shared. This conversation, our last one, was incredible. If you haven't listened to that one, tons of philosophical waxing about life and relationships and love, and just always such a joy to have you on and to
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate you, like, this is such a valuable conversation about that decision too, and that place that people find themselves in, because it's such an important part of this whole process. And like you said, you have a visceral experience of it now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm glad we mentioned that too. For sure. Yeah. Thank you both. Thanks for everything you do and all the incredible stories that you bring to light. And yeah, such an honor to be part of it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And
is there anything else you'd like to get out there before we let you go today?
I don't think so. Yeah. I'm just gonna get on with this whole crazy adventure, and I'm excited to report back.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the update.
And part 3
and 4 and 5. So and so just a reminder to anybody, links to all of Rachel's work, her website, Patreon is still a great place to support you as well. Yes, nodding yes. So please go check out all of Rachel's work, and congratulations, Rachel.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on, sharing your story today. and just for sharing everything about your journey the last few years. It has been amazing to talk with you today.
And congratulations.
Congratulations. We also wanted to share an update with all of you that Rachel has had her babies, and mom and babies are all doing well and adjusting to the world as it is now.
And we also wanted to offer that if you're looking to get Rachel a gift,
congratulate her.
Yeah, a congratulatory baby gift, you can check out her Patreon page over links in the podcast show notes.
Yes.
That's our way of saying independent creators like this need your support, and we would love for you to check it out. And if you can, support her work.
Very much so. A couple of quick reminders about upcoming dates. Our next community workshop is going to be on November 13th about how to choose a pleasure-based life. And our next virtual speed friending is coming back. That's going to be November 21st. You can find out more information about both of these events over on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
The other thing you can do, if you're interested, you can head over to the community tab of our website, and you can learn about our next in-person retreat coming up May 1st to the 3rd. That is happening just outside of Orlando, Florida. Early bird tickets are still on sale for just a couple of more days, and then tickets open up to the general public. Again, there is a link over on the community tab for a ton more information about this event, and we would love to have you come join us.
And next week, surprise, surprise, we have another interview.
Shocked.
This time it's with Ashton. So you're going to want to come back and listen.
And with that, we will see you all next week.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.